You may have heard it said that manifestation is about attracting, but the real secret, the one that rewrites everything, is that it's about selecting. Reality. Physics reminds us, is not a fixed wall but an infinite ocean of possibilities, all shimmering in potential until an observer enters the scene. The moment awareness meets the wave, one thread of that ocean solidifies into form. That moment, your moment of observation, is creation itself. Scientists once called this philosophy, now they call it experiment. For over a century, the data has whispered the same strange truth: nothing becomes real until it is seen, felt, and known by consciousness. The universe is not an assembly line, it is a field awaiting instruction. Your attention, infused with emotion, is that instruction. The moment you truly look not just with eyes, but with presence, you collapse infinity into experience. You've probably felt the frustration of doing everything right. The affirmations, the vision boards, the scripting, the endless repetitions that leave your throat dry and your hope thinner than before. The problem isn't your intention, it's the model of physics you were given. You were taught to pull a distant dream closer, to chase an echo across space. But quantum mechanics hints at a gentler truth. The thing you seek is already here, existing as one of many overlapping realities, waiting for you to select it. Think of the universe as a vast, invisible canvas. Every possible masterpiece, every version of your life already hangs there, complete. The one where you thrive, the one where you doubt, the one where you dared to leap. Each painting glows faintly, waiting for light. Your awareness is the lamp. When you focus, when you feel, when you believe as though it were already painted, you illuminate that image and the field responds by making it visible, tangible, solid. So perhaps it was never about pulling miracles from the distance. Perhaps the miracle is already drawn, complete and radiant, waiting only for your recognition. You don't attract, you select. You are not the one begging for color. You are the one holding the brush. And if you are the one holding the brush, then the next question rises like a wave. What happens when the observer forgets their power? You stand before the infinite canvas, yet your hand trembles. You try to paint with force, with fear, with effort, and the field reflects that tremor perfectly. The universe does not judge, it mirrors. It listens to the frequencies of your awareness and answers in kind. Here lies the paradox that traps almost everyone you are told to focus, to visualize, to push your desire into being. But in the act of pushing, you affirm its distance. The harder you look for proof, the more you reinforce the belief that it's not yet here. The observer's dilemma is this: your observation creates reality, but the quality of your observation defines the version you receive. Consider this carefully. A calm, coherent mind selects from harmony. A desperate mind selects from lack. You may speak affirmations of abundance while vibrating with the fear of absence, and the field will collapse to match that frequency exactly. It does not respond to your words, it responds to your state. Imagine yourself standing in front of two doors. One is carved from tension, the belief that you must earn, strive, achieve. The other opens effortlessly, held together by knowing, by resonance. Both doors exist in the same hallway of possibility. Which one unlocks depends not on your struggle, but on your state of being as you reach for the handle. And so the true art of manifestation is not control, but coherence. When you observe reality from a place of inner stillness, the field becomes still with you. When you observe through anxiety, the wave collapses into chaos. This is not punishment, it's symmetry. You might ask, if my observation creates, then am I responsible for every failure, every heartbreak? Not in the moral sense. The field is not a judge, only a mirror. What manifests is not a verdict. It is information, a reflection of the signal you are broadcasting. Once you understand this, guilt dissolves. Awareness becomes laboratory, not courtroom. You stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "What frequency was I transmitting?" This is where science meets soul. In the quantum world, observation doesn't just record, it participates. The act of looking alters the experiment itself. Likewise, in your life, the act of awareness alters experience. When you observe your pain without resistance, it begins to change shape. When you watch your fear with compassion, it begins to dissolve. Observation itself is alchemy, so you learn to look differently, not with the eyes of longing, but with the eyes of knowing. You learn to watch your thoughts as waves, not commands. You train your awareness to become like a lens that clarifies instead of distorts. The more precise your observation, the cleaner the collapse. The observer's dilemma ends not by looking harder, but by looking softer, by letting perception itself become gentle, surrendered, participatory. You begin to realize that life is not happening in front of you, but through you, that the image forming on the canvas is not fixed. It's still wet paint, still shifting under your gaze. So pause before the next wave of frustration. Feel the brush in your hand. The universe isn't withholding anything, it's waiting for your coherence. The act of seeing clearly is the act of creating wisely. Every moment you look, you choose. Every choice collapses a universe, and every universe, in turn, looks back through you. The field that mirrors you is not folklore. It's written in the mathematics of light itself. The great irony is that science, the same discipline once used to dismiss the mystical, has now circled back to confirm its essence. You may have heard of the double-slit experiment, that haunting, elegant test that shook the foundations of what we call real. Physicists fired particles, tiny beads of matter, toward a barrier with two narrow openings. If reality behaved like solid marbles, the particles should pass through one slit or the other and land in tidy clusters. But when no one observed them, something astonishing happened. Each particle spread out like a wave, passed through both slits at once, and formed a rippling interference pattern on the wall behind. They behaved as pure potential everywhere and nowhere at once. Then the experimenters added a detector. They simply looked, and the moment they did, the pattern changed. The wave of infinite possibility collapsed into a single definite line. The act of observation transformed a ghost into a solid. That is the most mystifying discovery in the history of physics. The universe waits to decide until consciousness joins the equation. Let that sink in. Before you look, everything exists as probability, every timeline, every outcome, every version of you shimmering in suspension. The instant you observe, the field chooses. It solidifies, and the life you experience is that chosen snapshot. But here's where it deepens. The experiment didn't end with particles. Researchers later found that even choosing when to observe could retroactively change what had already occurred. In other words, the present moment of awareness could reach backward, altering what appeared to have happened in the past. What does that imply about your life? Perhaps memory is not fixed. Perhaps even your history is a malleable recording in the quantum archive. When mystics speak of rewriting the past through healing, they may be describing this very mechanism, the energetic reobservation of what was, until it changes its form. Physics offers a language. Spirituality offers a metaphor. Together, they form a bridge across the impossible. Now imagine applying this experiment to your consciousness. The waves are your potentials, the countless futures vibrating quietly in the field. Your attention is the detector. When you gaze with certainty, one potential becomes visible, solid and real, When your gaze is scattered, the wave remains unfocused, and your life reflects that blur. This is not mysticism dressed in lab coats. It's data interpreted through wonder. Science doesn't claim that thought alone creates matter. It suggests that awareness participates in it. That is enough to change everything. And yet, most people treat this revelation like trivia, a strange curiosity tucked away in textbooks. They do not see that the same law governs every thought they think, every emotion they feel. They still live as if life is a pre-written story instead of an ongoing measurement. But when you understand that your observation is the experiment, you stop waiting for proof and start creating evidence. The laboratory is your mind. The equipment is your attention. The energy source is your emotion. Every second you are firing your own particles of possibility into the field, and each moment of awareness decides which ones become your world. So perhaps the deepest experiment isn't happening under fluorescent lights or behind lead shields. It's happening right now, wherever you are. The universe is waiting for your next act of measurement, waiting for you to look and, by looking, to bring something unseen into being. You've seen how the wave collapses under observation. Now, turn that lens inward. For decades, humanity has been sold a story that to manifest, you must attract, pull, chase. Reach across some invisible distance and drag your desire toward you. But attraction, as most understand it, is built on a hidden assumption that what you want isn't already here, and that assumption poisons the process before it begins. You tell yourself, I will attract abundance. But encoded in that very phrase is the vibration of lack, the subtle declaration that abundance is not your current reality. You visualize harder. You repeat affirmations until your voice becomes a chant. Yet beneath every word hums the same frequency, I do not yet have. And the quantum field, impartial as glass, reflects precisely what it receives. That is why attraction fails, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because trying is itself a confession of separation. The universe doesn't speak English or Sanskrit or the language of want. It speaks in frequency. And wanting, no matter how eloquent, radiates the frequency of absence. So what if there was never anything to attract at all? What if the field doesn't hold your desires at a distance, but already contains every version of your fulfilled life, each one complete, humming, waiting for resonance? Imagine standing before a radio with infinite stations. One station plays the song of struggle. Another plays the melody of peace. Both are broadcasting now. You don't summon the music by effort. You tune the dial until you match its frequency. That moment of alignment when your inner vibration synchronizes with the signal is not attraction. It is coherence. The mistake is thinking your job is to call the song closer. The real work is to become the listener capable of hearing it clearly. This is why people burn out on manifestation. They visualize and affirm from the state of the seeker, not the state of the receiver. They beg the universe for proof instead of embodying the evidence. They build rituals around absence, mistaking repetition for resonance. It's not your fault. Every self-help doctrine has been built on this architecture of effort. Work harder, it says, and you will draw your dream near. But the quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to energetic identity. The frequency of who you are collapses the version of reality that matches it. Think of it this way. If you stand before a mirror and frown, you can't demand that the reflection smile first. The reflection moves when you move. The field responds when you shift. That's why attraction feels like endless waiting, because the reflection cannot lead the face. Selection is different. Selection begins with inner calibration. You enter the state of the version of you who already lives that reality. You generate the emotion of completion before the evidence arrives. The paradox, of course, is that once you feel complete, the evidence arrives instantly. This is not magical thinking, it's vibrational mechanics. Resonance follows coherence. The inner world vibrates, the outer adjusts. Attraction, by contrast, depends on tension, on distance, on the sense that something is missing. And tension always demands resolution. So when you are tired of pulling, stop. When you are exhausted from the chase, pause. Let the belief in distance collapse. The truth is closer than breath. What you seek is not elsewhere. It is layered invisibly within the now, waiting for you to choose it. And once you choose, you'll notice something profound. Your energy stops leaking into desire and begins flowing into presence. You stop striving and start selecting. You stop chasing frequencies and start broadcasting them. The field listens. It mirrors back not what you ask for, but what you become. That's why the old paradigm crumbles now. Attraction was the myth of separation. Selection is the return to unity. If attraction fails because it assumes distance, then selection succeeds because it reveals proximity. The truth, whispered beneath all illusions, is that every potential reality already exists now, not later. You are standing in a boundless gallery of quantum paintings, each masterpiece depicting a different version of your life. They all shimmer behind a veil of possibility, waiting for one thing: your attention, to bring them into view. Picture it, an infinite hall stretching beyond sight, every wall covered with luminous canvases. One shows you thriving, radiant, fearless. Another portrays the same soul caught in cycles of doubt and struggle. Neither is imaginary. Both exist as potential patterns in the field. And yet, only one will take form beneath your fingertips. Which one emerges depends entirely on the light you shine, the emotional frequency you radiate as you look. This field, sometimes called the 0 point, isn't empty. It's dense with information, vibrating with infinite designs of experience. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. To consciousness, it is raw material, unformed possibility, waiting for resonance to sculpt it into matter. You are not a visitor to this gallery. You are its curator. Each emotion, each belief is a spotlight illuminating a particular frame. So when you focus on failure, that canvas brightens. When you dwell in gratitude, another painting, the one where synchronicity and ease color, every detail starts to glow. Nothing new is created. You are simply turning the light toward a different piece of art. The quantum canvas is alive with responsiveness. It doesn't punish or reward. It responds. When your focus is fractured, the light flickers. When your feeling is steady, the image holds. The entire universe moves in sympathy with the steadiness of your awareness. Now, consider what that means for daily life. Every thought you dwell on, every emotion you feed, is a brushstroke. The field is so sensitive that even brief bursts of coherence, moments when thought and feeling align, carry more creative weight than hours of conflicted effort. That's why sudden breakthroughs often follow surrender. It's not that the universe finally approves of you, it's that your inner frequency finally stopped interfering with itself. In that quiet coherence, the wave collapses effortlessly. The painting steps forward. The outer world rearranges itself to match the inner pattern. This is why artists, inventors, mystics, and children all share something sacred. They enter the gallery with wonder. They don't force the masterpiece, they let it reveal itself through them. They play, they imagine, they feel, and the field responds with generosity, because play is the most natural frequency of creation. You can feel this truth pulsing in your own life. Remember moments when you were utterly absorbed in a vision, when time disappeared and action felt like flow. That was coherence. You weren't attracting, you were selecting through alignment. The painting emerged as effortlessly as breath. The invitation is simple yet profound. Treat your consciousness as the artist's hand. The field is your canvas. The colors are emotional frequencies: peace, joy, clarity, freedom. Each time you merge intention with feeling, you lay a new stroke across existence. And here's the beautiful paradox, though the canvases seem infinite, they all share one source, the same luminous field expressing itself through infinite forms, which means every selection you make enriches the whole gallery. Every time you illuminate a new painting, the light spreads, touching others unseen. So the next time you look at your life, see it for what it truly is: a masterpiece in motion, paint still wet, color still blending. The brush is in your hand, and the gallery is infinite. What you light up next depends only on the feeling you choose to hold. And from that vast gallery of light, a deeper realization begins to stir the painting. You illuminate does not respond to thought alone. It listens to the frequency born when thought and feeling merge into one unified current. This fusion, where intention meets emotion, is what the mystics call power, and what physics might call coherence. In this script, we'll name it what it truly is: the observer's imprint. Imagine your awareness as a blueprint, a mental design specifying what reality you wish to select. That blueprint is necessary. It provides structure, but without electricity. A blueprint is only ink on paper. Emotion is that electricity. The genuine embodied feeling of already living your chosen reality charges the design with life. Together, they form an electromagnetic signature unique to you. The observer's imprint is that signature, your broadcast to the quantum field. It doesn't beg, it declares, it tells the universe, this frequency is now my identity. When you combine a clear mental image with the visceral feeling of its fulfillment, the wave of potential collapses precisely into the matching outcome. The physics are subtle, but the pattern is universal. Coherence of thought and emotion produces measurable order, while contradiction produces noise. That is why efforting feels chaotic. Your signal keeps canceling itself out. Think of two instruments playing the same note in perfect harmony. The sound becomes fuller, richer, almost alive. Now imagine those instruments slightly out of tune. The vibrations clash and cancel, creating dissonance. That's what happens when your thoughts say, "I am free," but your emotions whisper, "I am trapped." The field doesn't judge which is true, it simply amplifies the stronger frequency. And here's the quiet revelation: emotion almost always wins. The body broadcasts more powerfully than the mind. So while the mind sketches, the heart inks the contract. This is where so many seekers lose their way. They think positive thoughts, but feel despair. They repeat affirmations, but carry tension in their chest. The signal they send is split in half, and the universe, like a perfect mirror, reflects that split exactly. To imprint consciously, you must first generate coherence. Start by acknowledging what you actually feel, not suppressing it, not denying it. Emotion, even heavy emotion, is energy waiting for alignment. The moment you meet it without resistance, it begins to harmonize with your intention. Acceptance is not weakness, it is the tuning process. When intention and emotion finally resonate, something astonishing happens. The line between inner and outer blurs. Life begins rearranging itself to sustain the frequency you've chosen. Conversations shift, opportunities appear, synchronicities multiply. None of it is coincidence, it's correspondence. Science offers metaphors for this in studies of quantum coherence. Systems that oscillate in harmony exchange energy effortlessly, maintaining stability even under chaos. Consciousness seems to follow a similar law. When your inner field vibrates in harmony, Your outer world organizes to maintain that equilibrium. So the next time you visualize, don't focus on the picture, focus on the pulse beneath it. Ask yourself, what does it feel like to already be this version of me? Then breathe until that feeling becomes real in your body. Let it spread until it fills your chest, your skin, the air around you. Hold it not as hope, but as truth. That feeling, sustained for even a few moments, etches itself onto the field. It becomes a living imprint. And once recorded, the universe begins collapsing toward it. This is not mystical fantasy, it is the simplest of feedback loops. The observer observes, the field responds. The frequency stabilizes, reality rearranges. And all of it begins with coherence. So understand this: every time you align your thought and your feeling, you write a new law into your universe. The blueprint becomes alive. The field listens, and the world begins to hum in tune with your being. The imprint you've created, this fusion of thought and emotion, leads to the next evolution of power. Once you understand how coherence forms reality, you no longer seek to create from the posture of wanting. You begin to live from the vibration of being. And that single shift transforms everything. Because wanting, no matter how sincere, announces lack. It's the hand reaching across a distance. It tells the field, I am here, and what I desire is somewhere else. The energy collapses accordingly. You stay in the version of the world where longing is your companion. But being is different. Being contains no distance. It's the realization that the frequency of your chosen life already exists. And the moment you match it, it becomes indistinguishable from you. Consider the tuning fork. When one fork vibrates at a certain pitch, another nearby fork of identical frequency begins to sing on its own. This is resonance. The energy doesn't travel across space. It synchronizes through likeness. The same law governs consciousness. When your inner state resonates with the vibration of a fulfilled reality, the outer world harmonizes without effort. So the practice shifts from how do I get there to how can I embody the version of me who's already there. That is the quantum pivot. Instead of chasing, you align. Instead of striving, you stabilize. Instead of manifesting through tension, you manifest through identity. Identity is the true lever of the universe. Every belief, thought, and emotion flows downstream from who you believe yourself to be. Change that, and everything rearranges itself to serve the new pattern. When you say, I am abundant, you're not making a claim about the future. You're announcing your current broadcast to the field. The field doesn't respond to timelines, it responds to vibration. And yet, many resist this idea. The mind protests. But I can't just pretend I don't feel abundant yet. Exactly. Pretending doesn't work because it's rooted in lack. Being is not pretending, it's choosing to inhabit the feeling first. You don't wait for the evidence, you create the emotional environment in which that evidence must appear. This is why surrender feels powerful. When you stop insisting that reality confirm your worth, you finally align with the version of yourself that never questioned it. The moment you release the struggle, the resonance clicks into place. Think of your life as a symphony. Each reality is a different composition waiting to be played. Wanting keeps you listening at the door, ear pressed to the wall, hoping to catch a note. Being steps inside the hall, sits in the front row, and becomes part of the music. The sound waves are the same, but your position in relation to them changes everything. As you move from wanting to being, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Old reflexes built on scarcity start to quiet. You stop scanning the horizon for confirmation because you already feel full. Paradoxically, it's in that fullness that reality floods you with the very confirmations you once begged for. The field cannot deny coherence. When you hold the vibration of wholeness, life rushes to organize around it, because that's how the system sustains itself. Energy seeks harmony, and the more you practice this state, the faster the translation between inner and outer becomes. You think, you feel, and the feedback loop responds almost instantly. It's as if time itself begins to bend to your conviction. That's not magic, it's frequency alignment across dimensions. So remember, you don't have to push your new life into existence. You have to become the version of yourself who already lives it. That's the shift from yearning to embodiment, from doing to being. You're not asking the field for permission, you're reminding it of its own design. You're the resonance that the universe has been waiting to echo. And when you finally start being the version of yourself you once only imagined, the universe responds with movement, sometimes gentle, sometimes seismic. Things begin to rearrange, and the first instinct is often panic. You think everything's falling apart, but in truth, everything's falling into place. This phase, where the old world cracks and the new one hasn't fully formed, is what I call constructive chaos. It's not punishment, it's preparation. The field is clearing space. The structures built to sustain your former frequency can't hold the vibration of your new identity, so they crumble. Jobs end, relationships shift, plans dissolve. From the outside, it looks like loss. From the quantum view, it's demolition before rebuilding. You've submitted a new blueprint, and the field, with mathematical precision, begins deconstructing everything that doesn't fit. The noise you hear is just old scaffolding coming down. But the ego resists change, it confuses, collapse with danger. That's why awareness is essential now. You must stand as the observer in the storm. Watch without running. The more calmly you hold your vibration, the faster the dust settles and the clearer your new structure becomes. And then something subtler arrives. After the chaos fades, the desperate hunger that once fueled your manifestations begins to dissolve. The cravings, the obsessive longing, the emotional charge, it all fades into a calm neutrality. This can feel confusing, even hollow at first, as if your passion disappeared. But neutrality is not emptiness. It is completion. It's the vibrational silence that follows when the song you've been humming finally plays in full. You are no longer radiating lack. You are broadcasting presence. You have moved from wanting to knowing. The emotional stillness that replaces urgency is proof that the wave has collapsed. This neutrality is your confirmation. In the quantum process, coherence stabilizes through calm. When the emotional noise drops away, your imprint becomes laser precise. The field can now translate it into form without interference. That's why spiritual traditions equate peace with power. They are describing the state of vibrational clarity, where creation becomes automatic. And soon after that clarity comes a third sign echoing synchronicities. Reality starts whispering back to you in impossible coincidences. You think of a solution, and a stranger voices it behind you in a cafe. You feel gratitude for abundance, and money flows through unexpected channels. Songs, numbers, words, and encounters line up in uncanny ways. These are not random. They're ripples of your chosen reality bleeding into the now. Like hearing the faint melody of a song before tuning perfectly to the station. These synchronicities are evidence that the signal is aligning. They're the universe's way of saying, I heard you, but to decode them, you must abandon superstition and adopt awareness. Don't chase signs, read them. Each event is a mirror. Ask, what frequency is this confirming? If chaos appears, it confirms cleansing. If peace arises, it confirms stability. If coincidences bloom, it confirms resonance. Reality is feedback, not verdict. When you understand that, every experience becomes communication. You stop reacting and start interpreting. You shift from victim to decoder, from sufferer to scientist of your own consciousness. Even discomfort becomes sacred data. That argument, that delay, that unexpected twist, they're not obstacles, they're indicators. The field is showing you where your signal wavers, where your emotion needs retuning. So when the old life cracks, smile gently. When neutrality settles, trust it. When synchronicities bloom, acknowledge them aloud. The universe loves recognition. It strengthens the frequency loop. Gratitude is not a ritual, it's the amplifier. These are the fingerprints of transformation. They tell you, in the language of matter, that the invisible has begun to take shape. You are no longer hoping. You are watching your chosen world solidify around you, frame by frame, and that is how you know the collapse is complete. The canvas has changed. The painting has begun to dry. Once you understand these signs, you stop asking for confirmation and start living as confirmation itself. The architect no longer sketches, they begin to build. But this building isn't made of stone or steel, it's composed of frequency, of pattern, of state. Quantum manifestation becomes less a philosophy and more a practice. A true architect knows their craft isn't random inspiration. It's precision, and precision is rhythm. That rhythm begins the moment you wake, because in those first fragile minutes of morning, your consciousness is still soft, still between worlds. The old identity hasn't yet rebooted. The new blueprint can still be written. This is where the morning collapse begins. Before the world floods in, before you check messages or headlines, close your eyes. Don't visualize outcomes. Don't list goals. Instead, select the emotional signature you intend to carry for the day. Maybe it's calm certainty. Maybe it's creativity. Maybe it's peace. Breathe into that single feeling until it fills your body like light. You are not asking the universe for a good day. You are selecting one from the field of infinite possibilities. The first 5 minutes shape the next 24 hours. Most people surrender those minutes to habit, to noise, to someone else's signal. The quantum architect seizes them as sacred. You imprint your frequency before the world tells you who to be. And as the day unfolds, old patterns will return. A doubt, a spike of fear, a voice whispering that you've fallen back into chaos. This is where your second tool activates, the pattern interrupt. When the mind loops into fear, do not fight it. The old you would wrestle with the thought. Try to replace it, drown it in positivity. But whatever you resist persists. Instead, acknowledge the distortion calmly. See it as a rogue frequency attempting to recruit your energy. Say, silently, I see this potential, and I do not choose to collapse it. Then pivot immediately to the feeling you selected that morning. For 17 seconds, hold that vibration with full focus. 17 seconds is long enough for the field to register the new signal and begin recalibrating toward it. This is not denial, it's design. You're choosing coherence over chaos. You're tuning the instrument back to pitch. Then, as night approaches, your third tool completes the circuit evidence harvesting. Sit quietly before sleep. Review your day, not for flaws, but for proof. Write down 3 moments, however small, that confirm your chosen reality is taking shape. A conversation that mirrored your new energy. An effortless solution appearing out of nowhere. A moment of peace in a place that once triggered anxiety. These fragments are not coincidence. They are the scaffolding of your new world. Writing them down trains the mind to see alignment instead of absence. It rewires your attention toward resonance. Gratitude becomes data. Evidence, feedback. Morning collapse sets the tone. Pattern interrupt keeps it tuned. Evidence harvesting locks it in. Together, they form a feedback loop of creation and confirmation. You begin to notice that reality feels lighter. Things flow. Decisions arrive intuitively, without analysis. The separation between inner work and outer life blurs. What once felt like manifesting now feels like simply breathing in rhythm with the field. Understand this is not magic, it's maintenance, energetic hygiene. Just as you brush your teeth daily to maintain physical health, you tend to your frequency daily to sustain coherence. You are not performing rituals to get things. You are maintaining the resonance of the being who already has. And over time, these small disciplines dissolve effort entirely. The brushstroke of your consciousness becomes steady. The canvas reflects without distortion. You live less like a seeker and more like a sculptor whose art is never finished, only evolving with each breath. That is the quantum practice. It is not about control. It's about stewardship, caring for the vibration that paints your world. And as this rhythm deepens, something wondrous begins to stir the realization that you are not painting alone. Every brushstroke sends ripples across the field, touching other artists you may never meet. The creation expands beyond you. The personal becomes planetary. From here, the journey widens. You begin to see that your creation is never isolated. Every thought you select, every emotion you embody, sends a vibration outward, one that threads itself through the web of collective consciousness. The quantum canvas isn't yours alone, it's shared. You are one brush among billions, and each stroke affects the others. This is where the principle of entanglement awakens. Science describes it simply: two particles once connected remain linked. No matter the distance, a change in one instantly influences the other. But what if that law doesn't end at the subatomic? What if consciousness itself is entangled across the entire field? Each of us quantumly bonded through awareness, silently shaping one another's realities. When you shift your frequency, the resonance ripples outward. Someone you've never met feels lighter without knowing why. A problem halfway across the planet finds its solution because you stabilize peace within yourself. The field reorganizes in patterns beyond comprehension, yet deeply precise. That's why your personal transformation matters far beyond your personal life. The vibration you maintain is not private, it's participatory. Every time you choose coherence over chaos, you help harmonize the orchestra of existence. You tune not just your instrument, but the entire symphony. You've seen this before, haven't you? One person enters a room radiating calm, and suddenly everyone breathes easier. Another enters vibrating panic, and tension spreads like smoke. That's entanglement in motion. The field between people adjusts instantly to match the strongest signal. This is the new paradigm of creation co-creation. Your reality is the note you contribute to the cosmic song. And when enough of us tune to the frequency of clarity, compassion, and responsibility, the entire melody changes. Systems, cultures, even ecosystems respond because the material world is only the shadow of the energetic one. Here's the paradox: you are infinitely powerful and utterly connected. The more aware you become of your creative authority, the more sacredly you wield it. Power divorced from empathy collapses under its own weight, but power rooted in unity becomes harmony itself. So what does this look like in practice? It begins small. The next time you feel frustration, remember that your energy ripples outward. Pause. Breathe coherence back into your field. Choose to broadcast calm instead of chaos. It's not repression, it's leadership at the level of energy. When you speak to another, speak as though the field is listening, because it is. Every word carries frequency. Every silence carries weight. Every act of alignment reinforces the architecture of a more harmonious collective. You become a tuning fork for peace, a living node of resonance in the grid of human consciousness. As more of us awaken to this truth, the illusion of separation begins to fade. Manifestation ceases to be a personal project, it becomes a planetary one. We stop asking, how can I get what I want, and start asking, what frequency can I contribute that uplifts the whole? You can feel it even now, the hum behind these words, the pulse connecting us across time and distance. That's not metaphor. It's physics meeting presence, consciousness entangled through intention. When you create from that awareness, the brush in your hand becomes the hand of the universe itself. Every stroke you make paints not only your world, but ours. And in that moment, the artist and the artwork are one and endless living masterpiece called reality. And so we arrive here where silence hums beneath everything you've learned. You can feel it, can't you? The subtle vibration of knowing that you've never been separate from the field you once tried to command. The brush, the canvas, the color, they were never apart. They were you all along. Take a breath. Let the words fall away. Behind them remains only resonant steady, luminous, unforced. This is the state the mystics called grace and the scientists might call coherence. It's the quiet frequency of awareness, knowing itself. From this stillness, life no longer feels like something to fix or chase. It unfolds effortlessly as expression. You are not manifesting anymore, you are maintaining alignment. Every thought, every heartbeat, every small act becomes a brushstroke of presence on the canvas of existence. And yes, the world will still move. Seasons will shift, walls will crumble, new patterns will rise. But now you know chaos is not the enemy. It's the renovation of energy. The field never destroys, it repurposes. It listens to the vibration you sustain and paints accordingly. So carry this awareness lightly. When doubt returns, remember the signal never dies. It only wavers. Realign through breath, through gratitude, through the simple decision to feel whole again. That choice made repeatedly reshapes universes. If you could see the field from above, you'd see ripples of light, each one a consciousness choosing coherence, altering the frequency of the whole. You'd see yourself among them, not smaller, but essential. The orchestra would sound richer for your note. So, as this transmission ends, let it not be an ending, but a continuation of your own experiment. Keep watching the feedback. Keep tuning your signal. Keep painting. The universe is listening, and through you, it is learning to sing.